Hey guys, this is Randall with an album review, this time on Becoming the Archetype's Celestial Completion, and this was released March 2011, has 11 tracks, and note on this album and the artist in general, this album sort of is different from, the regular run-of-the-mill metal because it focuses more on light and it's more positive than other metal albums that are out there. So I just thought I'd like to throw that out before we got started. And also, this is a progressive metal band, so they're going to experiment a lot, and this is really what this album is, and it's an experimental album. So anyways, just thought I would tell you guys that before I got started. Anyways, let's go into sort of looking at the track list. The first track we have is The Resonant Frequency of Flesh, which is just like a 2-minute intro to the Magnetic Sky, and it's a really good intro. It's very appropriate for the beginning of the album. It leads into the Magnetic Sky, and this is a very popular song. If you're a Becoming the Archetype fan, you have definitely heard of this song. It's really good. I don't like it as much as I used to because I've listened to it too many times, but it has like musical influences from techno music and from metal influences, more like the death metal and deathcore at some points. And it's just I think a really diverse song. So and then you have the next song, which is really good in my opinion. It's like 5 minutes long, so it's really long, but Internal Illumination, it's a really good song. I do think it's a little bit too long. They could have made it a little bit shorter, in my opinion, but it's a really good song. Then we have Path of the Beam, and I'm just going to skip that one. Then after Path of the Beam, we get into the Requiem at, how do you pronounce that? Aeternum series, the Requiem Aeternum series. And it's got 3 parts. The first 2 parts are titled Music of the Spheres, and the third part is titled this weird word like xenosynthesis or something like that. But anyways, this is probably my favorite point on the album, these 3 Requiem Aeternum series songs. The first one's just an instrumental intro to the other 2, and it's like mainly just piano and classical music type thing, and at the end some drums kick in that lead to Music of the Spheres Part 2, which is actually about 7 minutes long, mainly due to about like a 2-minute gap in the song where it's just mainly piano and like a lot of weird sounds in the background. So that's mainly it. The song would probably be about 5 minutes long if it didn't have that. But with the piano break in it, it's about 7 minutes long. I think a little bit longer than 7 minutes. Then we get into the last part of the series, and it's xenosynthesis. I think that's how you say it. And it's much shorter than the second part. It's like 3 minutes, 3 minutes and a half long. And it's really good. It's got some of the same stuff that Demon Hunter did with the their intro to Not I. What was that called? The Light That Guides Us Home. They did the same thing with that. I'm not sure exactly what that's called, like opera music or something like that, but it sounds really good. Kind of sounds epic. Then after that one, we have Invisible Creature, which is just another instrumental intro to the next song, Cardiac Rebellion. And Invisible Creature is a pretty good instrumental intro. It sounds like futuristic Egyptian, somewhere along there. But for me, after a couple times listening to it, I just wanted to skip it because it ended up sounding weird after the first few times listening to it. It just, I don't know, sort of turns you off. And Cardiac Rebellion is probably my least favorite song off the album, and I know I'm going to get some heat for that, but that's just my opinion. The main reason is because the song sort of mixes metal in with jazz, and I'm sure a lot of people like that, but and I do think this is an okay song. I don't think it's a good song. I don't think it's a great song, but I do think this is an okay song. It's not a song, you know, I wouldn't want to listen to, but it's definitely my least favorite, and I do like it to a certain extent, but the jazz and the mixed with the metal thing just didn't really work out well for me. Like, the first half of the song is just mainly all metal, then about the half, sort of when you get to the middle, it like trombones and stuff start playing. Then after that it just turns like mostly jazz and like very partly metal. And so the first half, I guess, is okay, and the second half is probably the half that I like the least. But then the next song, Reflect Refract, is just kicks right back into the experimental metal. And a thing I would like to, especially on this song, point out on the guitars is that they sound really good. They have a new guitarist on this album. I forgot what his name is, but it's really, the guitars are really good. Not because there's a good solo or good, you know, whatever, but just because it sounds like it's supposed to. It sounds sonic or very bright. The guitar riffs do. They sound almost like if light could make a noise, those are the noises it would make, to me, in my mind. So yeah, really kudos to the guitar player. And something I forgot to mention that I should have mentioned when I was talking about the Magnetic Sky is that they got a second vocalist. I think he does bass guitar also, but he does clean vocals. So he's on a few of these songs. He's on Magnetic Sky, Path of the Beam, and a couple other ones. So yeah, I think he's a pretty good addition to the band. And then you got the last track, Breathing Light, and this is a pretty good ending track, not gonna lie. It's not the best ending I've ever heard to an album, but it's pretty decent. I liked it. Not a whole lot to say about it other than, again, it's experimental, it's got techno influences, it's got, you know, influences from all around. And also, another thing, like, when I first listened to this album, I was like, wow, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, when I first listened to it, I thought, this is what metal's gonna sound like in 20 years. I mean, maybe not, but it really did sound futuristic to me. I mean, a whole lot. And I know a whole lot of Becoming the Archetype fans were really disappointed with this album, but I really like it. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars. And I do like experimental stuff. I know some people don't, but I can appreciate experimental stuff because before I got into metal, I listened to, you know, just every other genre, rap, pop, you know, you name it, I would listen to it. The only 2 genres I wouldn't listen to was country and metal, and then I actually listened to metal, and I changed my mind. But I still don't like country. So anyways, I do recommend this album for Becoming Archetype fans that at least shun it. I mean, if you have like heard like the Magnetic Sky or something, you're like, I don't really like it. I mean, at least try a couple other songs. I mean, it won't completely waste your time, I don't think. Some songs I think would be good for you to check out if you don't really like this album and you're Becoming the Archetype fan and were disappointed in it. Some songs I would recommend you checking out is Internal Illumination. Check that one out. Check out the Requiem Aeternum series. All of those are really good. And check out Reflect Refract, and those might change your mind about this album. So, yeah, but if you weren't really disappointed with this album and you still haven't got it yet, I do recommend that you do get it. And if you like progressive, experimental metal, then I'd also recommend this. And anyone else that's not really a metalhead, but still likes techno music, classical, like instrumental music, or jazz music might like this, you know, depending on whether you like screaming or not. And anybody who likes metal but doesn't like the dark tone of the lyrics of metal will probably like this, because this album is, like I said earlier, a whole lot more positive than most other metal albums. Like, not positive like Holding Flowers and Singing About Rainbow is positive, but it's very positive than most other metal stuff out there. So, yeah, even if you're not a metalhead, you might want to check this album out. You might end up really liking it. So, that's it for this review, guys. Rate, comment, subscribe, and until next time, you guys just keep it metal.